This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It is a glorious football Friday here in the Lombardi Line. Dave Ross and Michael Lombardi coming at you here. Michael, where are you today? Your trials and tribulations in the great state or the Commonwealth of Virginia?
I am in the Commonwealth, George Washington's home state. Yes, I am in a town called Washington, Virginia. Actually, it's about 70 miles due east, a little south of Washington, in this wonderful little place called the Inn at Little Washington. So it's great. It's been fun.
That's awesome.
Amazing country. The weather, though, Dave, is amazing. It was 80 degrees here yesterday. It's November, 8th, and we're having 80-degree weather. I mean, something's going on. But if last night, Dave, it was any indication of what we're in store for sitting on the couch on Sunday afternoon, wow, hold on, because it's unbelievable. And I think this might be one of the hardest handicapping cards ever. I was going through it again this morning, and there are 7 games that have 6.5 or more points that you're going to have to navigate if you want to take the favorite.
I'm right there with you. By the way, game of the year, potentially Elliott Bowman. That's what he said today, our producer. And I'm not going to disagree with him here after that 35-34 win by the Ravens. Speaking of, a 6-point favorite in that one. Bengals get the money. And before we break this down, Michael, it's so funny. I'm watching that game, and I'm on the Bengals, right? Was I on the right side? Okay, we cashed the ticket. But did you feel like you were on the right side when you're down 7 a couple times in the fourth? I mean, that could have gone either way, Yeah. And even it looked like a dead under for the longest part, and then the points explode late to go way over the total. So when people say, I was on the right side, I could have been on the wrong side just as easily as the correct side last night.
Yeah. I mean, when you give up an 84-yard touchdown pass and a 70-yard touchdown pass, there's probably a good on one play. There's a good chance the over's going to hit, right?
Right.
I mean, there's a good chance of that. Look, I thought we handicapped the game the right way. When we had Harry on, we said that Burrow was good. Look, they can't run the football. They average 3.1 yards. You cannot throw a ball on the road 56 times like Joe Burrow had to do last night and come out of the game the victor. He got the crap beat out of him.
Yeah.
They have no power in their offense at all. I mean, Chase is dynamic, and unfortunately Brown had that bad fumble.
Oh.
And, to me, it was a game that Baltimore's the better team, and no matter how far Baltimore got behind in the game, remember, they've had 14-point lead against Baltimore, 10-point lead against Baltimore. Baltimore knows they can come back. I mean, I just feel like, to me, Lamar, when he had to make a play, that play down the sideline was one of the most incredible tiptoes you're ever going to see, and he almost gets in the end zone. It was just a fun game to watch, and I think they played him as well as you could play him defensively, and they gave up 35 points.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like Lou Anarumo kind of figured it out early. It's 21-7 with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. They're holding them down, and then that Brown fumble, as you alluded to, I thought it changed the whole tone and tenor of the game right then and there, giving the Ravens that short field to get back into it at 21-14. And look, I think it's almost like, Michael, we started off the week talking about, do you go for 2 on Monday Night Football? We end the week on a Friday talking about, should you go for 2? It's deja vu all over again, right? The same conversation.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Zach Taylor as to why he decided, Michael, to go for 2. Then I'll get your thoughts.
I'm here to win. I'm here to win. Well, we lost turn battle 1-0. I think, it's 1-7 at that point when we gave him 7 points there, right there on the fumble. Had the big play, and then it kind of went back and forth from there. And there was a good football team, but we expected to come in here and win, and we did everything we could to do that. Doesn't change the fact that I'm proud. I think everybody on that field fought, gave us a chance. Lost the game on the road to a good team, and it's sickening that this has happened twice to us. That's what it is.
It's not sickening. It's just what it is. I mean, your team has no physical power to it at all. You can't play with any physical toughness to it. And so you want, when you can play a 7-on-7 game, you look like you have something. But this is another game where you wilted in the fourth quarter. I mean, I know they made the comeback to they made the touchdown to bring it back, but I don't know if I could argue about the intent on fourth down to go on the 2-point conversion. I could argue about the decision. To me, I think if you're there to win, and Chase has had the ball targeted 17 times, and he's got 264 yards on the 11 catches, you might want to think about throwing him the football in the end zone on the 2-point play, right? You just might want to do that, Zach. I think Elliott's said it best. I mean, Elliott's been around me long enough to know that, what is your best play? What is your gotta-have-it play? That was your gotta-have-it play, throwing the ball to Taylor Hudson? I mean, seriously, that was your best play? Now, you said, well, we didn't get a call. Come on, that's your best two-point play you have?
Right.
I mean, to me, I don't know if I could disagree with them going for it because there was too much time left to go. And not that Tucker's been great this year, but they were going to come down and kick a field goal to beat you. But to me, I just really had a real problem with you running sticks out of 2-by-2 formation when you got the best player on the field in Jamar Chase, who they can't even cover. Go back to that touchdown pass. That touchdown pass, they had them doubled. They had somebody in the flat, and they had two guys, guy underneath them and a guy over him. And Burrow made maybe one of the best throws that nobody's going to realize how great of a throw it was, because there was only a tight window to get that ball in.
Yeah, that was an incredible throw to the back of the end zone to potentially tie the game or take the lead there to Chase to get it to 35-34. I said in real time, I thought they should have kicked it. And I'm hearing Kirk Herbstreit on the call, Michael, and I wanted to text you. He said almost exactly what you said on Monday in real time. He said, well, they're going to go for two because I think they realize that they can't stop the Ravens. Like, he said it exactly what you're telling your team is we can't stop them.
Right.
You're making that acknowledgement. So I know people are like, that's not what you're saying. No, that's exactly what you're saying. And you said it on Monday.
You know what's so funny about that, Dave? When they played Kansas City in the conference championship game, right? The game went to overtime, and Kansas City had the ball, if you remember. Right now, I really believe in that game, Mahomes was concussed. He just played through it. I really believe it. Because if you watch him in that game and some of the throws he makes, but remember, in that game, he throws 3 passes in overtime, and each one was worse than the last one. And the third one got intercepted, and that's how they won that game and went to the Super Bowl. And so there is precedent that you have stopped somebody. Now, in fairness, their defense is not good enough to stop anybody. I mean, when you break it down, this Raven team averaged 6.7 yards per play, which is below their 7-1. And Cincinnati did what we said they had to do. They controlled the clock. They had the ball for 31-35 in the game. The time of possession was in their favor, all that. But the problem is when you can't power, when you can't play with power, you can't get control of the game. So when you're up by 14, and you've got a little running back in there and he gets the ball stripped, understand it, those plays happen. But think about all the breaks Cincinnati got in this game and still lost. 11 penalties for 81 yards. 4 first down by penalties. This, what Burrow was saying after the game, I don't get those calls. He's full of crap.
They had there was a defensive holding in the very first drive of the game on 4th and goal. I thought it was just incomplete pass and play on, and I'm on the Bengals side, but they call that. They get a 1st and goal, score the next play with Chase Brown, by the way. And again, great handicapping yesterday. Gave out with Harry Gagnon, gave out Chase Brown anytime touchdown. That cashes. You mentioned it, the over for Joey B at 23.5 easily cashes with 34 completions in this game, throwing the ball 56 times in this thing for over 4 bills. And the Bengals +6 does get home. So all of those things cash. But to win the game, and Zach Taylor says we're there to win the game, Michael, I'm with you. Like, okay, if that's your best gotta-have-it play, then kick the extra point. Like, if that's really your best play, then that's not going to win the game. Then let's take our chances and hope you win the coin toss, because they couldn't stop you either. I mean, Jamar Chase was the best player in the field last night, right? So like, we're all assuming, right? We're all assuming the Ravens are going to win the
bunch formation. Why not get into a bunch formation where they can't really double them?
Yeah.
And somebody could spring open, But when you put them out there alone in a one spot with no motion, now it's easier to double them. Now you just put the safety and you take your chances and you go zero pressure and make the ball come out quick. I mean, to me, that can't be your best play. Like, if anything, you fell short in terms of – now, look, give the guy – he kind of called 56 passes.
Right.
So he's, his play sheet probably wasn't. But just the whole point that I'll make continuing about Zach Taylor is situational football. It's not good. He did it in Cincinnati, 3 straight runs into the line of scrimmage and tried to kick a long field goal, lost that game. This game, he's got a chance. I mean, I think he made the right decision to go for it on 2. I really do, because I think he had too much time for Lamar to come back and kick a field goal. I really think that. I think that would have been hard. All those things, and not that I'm saying Tucker would have made it, but to me, you have to have a better play than run stick at the goal line. And I think to me you were fortunate. I'm not sure. I thought it was Taylor that got the first down on the 4th and 10 play. I mean, I think that was close. Don't you?
Josivac. Yeah, Josivac made that great catch, and it looked, we didn't know if he had got it. It was a great play on 4th and 10 to get that drive going, but they kind of moved that thing along very quickly. You're right. I thought the Bengals got some fair shakes to have those opportunities to be in position to win it. I get it. Burrow was talking about the face mask that was missed, but they did get their share of calls. I think you illustrated that perfectly with the number of penalties against the Ravens. So I didn't look at it as much as if social media is upset with the calls and on the 4th down play, whether or not that was a hold on that final play. Debatable. It looked like maybe he got there a little bit early. But, Michael, that's part of the chance. If you're throwing out to Jamar Chase, they're not missing that call if it's on Chase, right?
No, they're going to give him every benefit of the doubt. And if you don't do something to separate the defense in the red zone, where like you got to like when you watch the Bateman touchdown, that wasn't a design play. He wasn't designed to go the other way. It's just the play broke down, and you can't cover that long. And so to me, you've got to have a way to where you're going to go one way and go direction. Look, Jerry Rice scored a career-high touchdowns on what we call Colorado, which is you're running a slant, but you break it to an out. So you start like you're running the slant play, and then he curls it back out because the defense jumps on the slant. It's called Colorado. He must have 100 touchdowns on Colorado. It's ridiculous how many he scored in his career. But it's a double move in the red zone, which you have to have.
You probably had a lot against my Cowboys back in the day. Michael, we have a lot to break down in this game and beyond. Come on back, just getting it started here on a Football Friday.
Coming up Friday on Follow the Money, we'll recap a big Thursday night football game, look ahead to the weekend with Mike Somich, picks and props, and Drew Butler on the big games in the SEC. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We continue our Football Friday conversation here on the Lombardi Line. Dave Ross and Michael Lombardi here with you. Still have a lot to get to here on this Thursday night game that we saw last night. I still don't believe what we saw. Thomas Gable is going to join us here in the next segment from the Borgata in New Jersey. Tim Murray is going to join us in hour number 2 to break down some college football as well. But, you know, you and I, we were talking with Elliot during the break, too, and I think we're still, while we're all talking about the 2 and the Bengals and how great Jamar Chase was, you mentioned it. Lamar Jackson last night, he just looked like a cheat code out there. Like, he's the reigning defending MVP. Michael, when you watched him last night, he's getting better. This has got to scare the rest of the league.
I wrote about it last week. I wrote about it in the column, and he's much better. And, you know, we talked about Goff being the MVP, and I would vote for him because the number was 7-1. But, I mean, this guy throws 8 incomplete passes. He throws for 290. Now, he had a chance to throw a interception that they dropped. They ruled it an interception and flipped it, or I'm not sure what they did. But, you know, to me, his passing has been unbelievable. And this is another example of them being able, the Ravens team, to be able to play any style, which I think if you're a Ravens fan, you've got to feel really comfortable about. Because in the past, when they got behind in games, it was hard for them to play catch up. They couldn't pass protect. They couldn't use their drop back pass game. There wasn't any. Remember the Greg Roman era? They couldn't really throw it. I mean, last year they got behind in a game. They panicked. This year, they've been behind twice to the Bengals, 10 points, 14 points, and have come back and played well. So that, I think. But last night, David, I think he won the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's still a lot of football left. But America saw Al's wonderful tie, which was tremendous, right? And we also saw an MVP-like performance. That we saw as I think Al and both Al and Herbie said this. Who else can do that play? Who else in the league could make that play? And the answer was no one.
Now you've got 2 numbers that I'll throw out at you for MVP right now. If you can still get this plus 280, that feels like a really good number on Lamar right now. I know it's the shortest number on the board, okay, for MVP. It's the same number though, Michael, for the Ravens to win the AFC. Like, you know, if you got Lamar at 280 to win MVP or Ravens to win the AFC, which is, with that defense, could be questionable, wouldn't you rather play the MVP number over the Ravens finally getting over the hump?
Yeah, especially the way he's playing. And he shows no signs of not being able. Look, he missed practice on Wednesday. Everybody was in panic. And he comes back on Thursday and Friday. I mean, he comes back. I mean, talking about last week, but I mean, to me, look, I wondered last night when I watched Wallace take the ball 84 yards. Why did they need Deontay Johnson in the game? Why did they trade for him? What's he going to do for him? Right.
Yeah.
So I just felt like when they can win games without playing from in front, when they can win games where they don't have their running game operating, I think to me it's really powerful. Now, I think we haven't talked about this, which I think is significant for that 280 odds to win the AFC. Where's Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that when he went down, I think that really, because Kyle Hamilton has created a unique position in the NFL, which is he's not a safety, he's not a linebacker, but he's a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to me, when they lost him, they lost a force that could play well on 2 levels of the defense, attack the quarterback and then play inside the run game, which they really didn't have to do against the Bengals. But I think to me, that's the key. Think about this, though, Dave. I mean, both teams had 50 rushes and completions, except the Ravens did it in a more efficient fashion.
By the way, Kyle Hamilton, Coach Harbaugh said after the game, does not think it's going to be overly serious, does not know how much time he's going to miss with that sprained ankle. So it feels like early reports are good. So you hope it's not going to be too, because you're right, he's physical, that physical presence that he brings. You're talking about the Bengals kind of lack. And by the way, conversely, this is interesting to me, and I think you and I might fall on the same side of this. We were talking about this yesterday, that the Bengals kind of had to be perfect to make the postseason. It was even money, remember, this time yesterday. With the loss, it drops for the Bengals to make the postseason to plus $1.35. Like, to me, Michael, that should be longer. They're 4-6. I know they're good.
Right.
And they're sexy in the offense. And all. They're 4-6, Michael. Plus $1.35.
One of the things I really messed up on last week in handicapping is I didn't take the Harbaugh consecutive games in effect. Okay, so last week, the Ravens played the Browns. right? And then after they played the Browns, who did they play? They played another hardball. They played Jim at the Chargers, right? This week, the Bengals played the Browns, played the Ravens this week. Who do they play next week? The Jim Harbaugh-led Chargers. So the Harbaugh connection continues here. And I think the second time you play a Harbaugh, you're going to have to get over the exchange of information that probably will take place, even though you say, well, they're both in the AFC. No, they're brothers. John wants the Bengals to lose every single game, right? He wants them to lose every game. So there's going to be a lot of information that's passed along to the Chargers, from those conversations, whether it was the summertime when they hang out together or whether it's during the season. To me, I think there's a little bit to that, and I fell into that, and I was so mad last Sunday when I was watching it. I thought, God darn, you're an idiot. You should have taken this was a Charger play all the way because of those tips that you get.
Yeah.
When you play a team when you kind of have like a little bit of a cheat sheet going into a game, I think that's really important.
I mean, I'd love to hear the football conversations you guys have at Thanksgiving table at the Lombardi household. You got to think that John, Jim, and Jack, those conversations that they're having right around the Thanksgiving table are pretty darn good when it comes to football. But again, the Bengals plus $1.35. I just don't know if those numbers are long enough. Michael, very exciting, obviously, here at VSiN right now because we do have the new launch of the VSiN Watch app. You can download the app now. It's very exciting. If you haven't done so already, you can visit the Apple app or Google Play Store. You download it. It's the VSiN Watch app. You're going to get 24/7 access to our live audio video stream, replays of all your favorite VSiN shows, easily stream video to your smart TV. You can browse those clips by sport, use the search feature, check out the specific VSiN expert insights that you're interested in. Michael's insight on football, of course. The VSiN Watch app is free. You can download it from both Apple and Android users. Visit the Apple and Google App Store now. Download the all-new VSiN Watch app and become part of the sports betting network. Boy, it was dazzling quarterback play that we saw last night. I was impressed with Baker Mayfield on Monday night with what he was able to do without his two top wideouts. I thought he played really, really well. He did not practice on Thursday, and they are getting 6 at home against the 49ers. Michael, is this one of those things that, man, it was Monday night, it was a short week, let's rest him up? Do you think that's what that is?
Exactly what it is. I think his body's sore. I think he's got, I'm sure it's got the crap beat out of him. It's tough to come back on a short week. And so basically what happens is because when you play on Wednesday, on Monday night, you're giving the players off Tuesday. You can't really practice. You can't have your full go Wednesday. It's more of a walkthrough. Thursday, the same thing. And I think today he'll be out there doing all the red zone stuff. So I think that the line moves slightly. There's some 6.5s in this market here for the 49ers, which seems a little long. I mean, we don't know. We know McCaffrey is going to play. Is Jennings going to play? I think that's a question. I think you've got to answer that. But, when we go through these games tomorrow for Sunday, there's so many injuries that are affecting the lines that are really moving. I mean, the Giants are up to 6.5 favorite here, which, moved from 5 up to 6.5 because I can only think that it's because Bryce Young was named the starter for the Panthers.
That's
amazing. The only reason.
Yeah, it's amazing to me to see that jump for the Giants to go up to 6.5 in that Germany game.
Dave, we talk about the lines in the NFL always being around that 3. There's what we said earlier, 7 games of 6 or more in the spread. Wow. And this week we only have 2 games below the 3 line. I mean, we only have the Rams and the Jets game. To me, if you want to play close games, when you want to just pick a winner, then those are the 2 games you could focus on. Everything else has got field goal or above.
Minnesota's jumped up to 7-point favorites against the Jaguars. We saw, again, Trevor Lawrence did not play. Is this getting to that critical time that it just doesn't look like Lawrence going to be able to go?
He's not playing. I mean, I think it's all Mac Jones. I mean, they would not have signed C.J. Beathard if they thought he was going to play because they brought C.J. Beathard up to the active roster. So I think he's not going to be. I think what you'll see on Sunday morning is Trevor Lawrence is not active. I think they'll go into the game with 2 quarterbacks, one of them being Mac Jones, the other one being C.J. Beathard. And look, I'm shocked this line. You better be, if you like Minnesota, take it now because I think once people realize how bad Mac Jones played last year for the Patriots, this line's going to get a butt, especially with Brian Flores attacking and really going after him because he can't really move. I mean, Trevor can run now.
Yeah.
Lawrence can move around in the pocket. That's not what Mac Jones can do. I think it's a real tough out. And then, of course, they don't have Christian Kirk. You know, you take away Brian Thomas from their offense, what do they have? Okay, they've got Evan Ingram. Will he run the football? Hard to run the ball in Minnesota. I mean, this could be a bad day for Jacksonville as it moves forward.
Very quickly, Will Levis full practice for the Titans against the aforementioned Jim Harbaugh in the Chargers here, laying 7 in LA. What do you make of that? Does that mean they're going to go back to Levis? And
I mean, I don't know how you don't. I mean, to me, that's another 7. I think to me there's some 7.5s, but to me, I think it's 7. You have to almost think about that. To me, Will Levis is going to turn the ball over.
He's going to turn it over.
I mean, they scored 17 points last week. You know, they had 7. All Mason Rudolph could do. They just can't score points in Tennessee.
Going to go to Jersey next to catch up with our guy, Thomas Gable, at the Borgata. That is next here on the Lombardi Line.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing the all-new VSiN Watch app. Now, you can watch and listen to VSiN expert analysis live wherever you are. Missed a show? No problem. Catch replays of VSiN's full lineup at any time. View highlights sorted by sport. Or use the search feature to find specific teams and topics you're looking for. And the best part? It's free for a limited time. Download the VSiN Watch app today. Available now on the App Store and Google Play. And join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We continue the conversation here on a Football Friday. Dave Ross and Michael Lombardi here with you. And, Michael, we always love to catch up with Thomas Gable at the Borgata as the sports director there. Joins us now in the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow Thomas, as I do, on X at @TGableSports. Thomas, we were talking about this all during the show and the break, and we can't stop talking about this Thursday night game. How was the action at the Borgata last night? Did you guys need a side there? Because this thing, I don't know if there was a right side, but if you were on the Bengals, you ended up on it.
Yeah, very good two-way action at 6, and that was where we closed. Ravens laying 6, total closed 53. So slightly more money on the Bengals pregame, and obviously those tickets got paid out. If you had the over, you obviously also got paid out, and you may have been sweating it a little bit there at halftime, but certainly the second half exploded offensively. But yeah, we did well in game. We won both the halves, so overall not a bad result for us at all for the game itself. And really, what does that come down to? Well, the Ravens are now -$3 to win that division, and the Bengals, unlike what Joe Burrow predicted, they're not going to win out and cruise into the playoffs. So it's a little bit tougher now for Cincinnati fans. Now Cincinnati 35-1 to win the AFC North. So really, again, it comes down to the Ravens and your Pittsburgh Steelers there, Dave, for the AFC North, if the Steelers can kind of keep pace there with them.
Yeah, I mean, it just almost seemed impossible, especially, when you watch this Bengal team, TG, they never can get control of the game. And so to me, every game, whether they play the best teams in the league or the worst teams in the league, you're always a little bit in jeopardy here. And I think what the Eagles did against them 2 weeks ago, to me, told me a story about the Eagles that I think is compelling to win the East and beat and edge out the Commanders for first place. So let's talk about that Eagle-Giant game down there, which I know is huge. The Eagle-Cowboy game, which I know is huge in the Borgata. To me, is the line's at 7. That it tiptoed back down to 6.5 because I know there were some reports about Hurts being injured or missing practice or not looking good or wobbling. As you know, the Philadelphia media covers the Eagles very intently. Where are you on the game, and where's the action coming in at?
Yeah, I'm still 7.5. Eagles laying 7.5 on the road.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
and this is an interesting thing, too, before we kind of get into this game. There's 11 games scheduled for Sunday. 8 games feature road favorites out of the 11. So there's a lot of road favorites this week. So, kind of be careful there with your handicapping. But in this one, as you said, Eagles laying 7.5. And, yes, there's some rumblings out there that Hurts might be a little injured, but right now it's been mostly all Eagles money here. Obviously, the Cowboys, no Dak, and the Cowboys. This has not been their season. I'm sorry, Dave. As you know, it's been a rough one. But let's look at the Eagles. Last 4 games, 0 turnovers for Jalen Hurts. He had 7 turnovers in his first 4 games of the season. And there was that bye week there that was in between. And what we saw after that bye week, he's under center more, which it's opened up more play action. Also of note here, the Eagles are 5-0 this season with A.J. Brown in the lineup. They were 1-2 when he missed those 3 games. When Hurts has Brown and Devontae Smith out there, they're both tremendous playmakers for him. And, we saw it again last week. Devontae Smith making a spectacular catch in the end zone. Now, Sirianni did his best to kind of gum up the works a little bit with some of his in-game decisions last week and make that game a lot closer than it really needed to be against Jacksonville. That game should have been a blowout. Turned out not to be, and really came down to the end there with the Eagles making that interception to ice it. But, I think the main concern for the Eagles here moving forward, aside from any injuries that may crop up, it has to be Nick Sirianni's in-game decisions at this point. He is going to cost them, if he hasn't already, he's going to cost them, I feel, at least another game along the way. And they have to keep pace with a very good Washington Commanders team at this point. Yeah, the Eagles are still favored to win the NFC East, but Washington continues to perform week after week. And this NFC East now really is a two-team division. We thought going into the season it's probably going to come down to the Eagles and Cowboys. No, it's going to come down to the Eagles and the Commanders.
That's the amazing thing here, Thomas, because you've got the Cowboys, Eagles due on Sunday, and then they've got the short week. The Thursday night game is against the Commanders next week. So it's almost like, are they looking ahead past the Cowboys with that big one on deck with the Commanders? And great point, because the Eagles are now back to odds on to win the division at minus $1.40. The Commanders are plus $1.15. I know we talked last week about maybe some Commanders backers against the G-Men last week. For the division, are you seeing people still believe that really, as you mentioned, that two-horse race, are anybody buying tickets on the Commanders to win this division?
Not here they aren't. It's still mostly Eagles backers, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen anybody kind of really come in and jump in on the Commanders yet, but maybe they feel it's a little too late. If they didn't get that price before the season started. But yeah, I mean, what you're seeing with the Commanders, Love, is week to week. You're seeing them be bet, on the spread every week now. And, this week, another big matchup there against Pittsburgh. Commanders at home, laying 3. We opened 2.5 in that game, now bet up to 3. And again, it's been mostly Commanders money here early.
Yeah, let's talk about that game. Let's talk about the 8 road favorites, TG, for a second here. Which road favorite do you feel like is getting the most play and has the most sharp attention on them?
Well, the Vikings have obviously been bet up, and that was with the Lawrence news there for the Jaguars. We opened Minnesota 5.5. And actually, the early money came in on the Jags, and then the Lawrence injury got announced, and that's been all Vikings money, and Vikings are now up to 7-point favorites on the road there with that one. Falcons and Saints. Falcons laying 3.5. Could even go a little bit higher there, and the Falcons are getting bet there again on the road. The Niners, 6.5-point favorites. With McCaffrey coming back, that's been a popular play again with the betting public. All of a sudden they think, well, McCaffrey's back in the lineup. And listen, the guy is tremendous. He's a tremendous weapon. We know how many touchdowns he was able to score last year. Finally going to get a look at him this year in that lineup against a Tampa team now that's, I thought, listen, they played very admirably on Monday night. And despite missing their 2 top wide receivers there, but 49ers, 6.5-point favorites on the road at Tampa, but they're getting a lot of public money coming in, and the Lions, of course, then on Sunday Night Football, 3.5-point favorites on the road at Houston, and it's the same thing there. They're taking a lot of public money, but in terms of respected money coming in, we saw a little bit of respected money there. Take the Dogs and the Saints in that one. And basically, it's just been kind of sharper money on the total so far from what we've seen.
Thomas, help me figure this out. Why are the Jets getting bet up to 2 on the road? Why are they up to 2-point favorites against Arizona?
That's a great question. I mean, the betting market is certainly backing the Jets. We've seen mostly Jet money here. Now, again, we're a little bit swayed by where we sit geographically, so we always take Jet money. We're sitting Jets laying 1.5. And honestly, for my power ratings with this game, I make this game Arizona 1 at Arizona. It's, I don't give Arizona much home field advantage at all, but I still make them a 1-point favorite there at home against the Jets. But obviously, the market has disagreed and has pushed the Jets up to 1.5, 2-point favorite.
Yeah, to me, it's just so hard to handicap this Arizona Cardinal team because their numbers, you look at them and say, wow, they're just giving up so many points, yards, and all that, but they play with such resilience. It's really remarkable, and they're able to kind of find a way to win the game. Real quick, TG, Lions this week against Houston. What's the action on that game?
It's been almost all public money on the Lions, as expected. I think you're probably going to get some. We'll see if this number goes any higher than 3.5. If it hits 4, I would expect probably some respect that might have come in on the Texans. But it's been almost all public money on the Lions. And listen, the Lions are at this point look completely dominant. I came on last week and said I have them 2-point favorite against anybody, at least in the NFL on a neutral, and still the case. Still have them a 2-point favorite over Baltimore on a neutral.
We did the whole segment and did not bring up the Philadelphia 76ers at any time, Thomas. So there was a good segment.
Congratulations. That's a good thing.
Thanks for joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, Thomas. Always like your insight. When we come back, different game or more of the same.
Got a good thing coming. Just wait and see. It's a good.
Join us on a numbers game where Gil Alexander takes you on an informative and entertaining ride, focusing on the numbers that fuel today's bettors.
The Pittsburgh defense is amazing. I'm not doubting that. You think it's impressive, but you don't get how impressive it is. Okay, Mr. Football, we get it. Why do we bet baseball and tennis and other things? Because this league is mashugana.
He sets the table as the money comes in each day, helping you become a sharper bettor. Catch a numbers game weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, only on VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We continue the conversation here on the Lombardi Line on a Football Friday. Dave Ross and Michael Lombardi here with you, and this is a fun game to play as we look ahead to week number 10. It's already begun. What a way to begin. 35-34 victory last night for the Ravens over the Bengals with a game of different game or more of the same. We're going to start with the Chiefs and their offense, Michael. It's been, I don't want to say maligned for an undefeated team that's the reigning, defending two-time Super Bowl champions, but it hasn't always looked like it was clicking. Now, look, with DeAndre Hopkins last week, it looked like it started to click. So for this week, against definitely a better defense in the Broncos, will be a different game of more of the same because they had some of their biggest totals of the year last Monday night in that win over the Buccaneers.
You know, I think to me, the Broncos defense is playing better than the Bucs defense. There's no question about that. The Bucs defense, for whatever reason, hasn't been able to match what I think Todd Bowles thought they could do coming into the season. He thought this was the fastest defense he's had, and they haven't played to that level. I think the Broncos can, and they understand how to play. I think Sean Payton, Vance Joseph, they both know what Andy Reid wants to do. They try to make them play left-handed. And I think they'll take advantage of the weakness of the Chiefs, which is their left tackle and their right tackle position. I think this game really comes down to if you want to lay the 7.5 here, which has come all the way down, is you're saying Bo Nix is going to struggle at Arrowhead. I'll still call it Arrowhead. I don't care what they call it, right?
I think it is, right?
To me, yeah. I mean, to me, going in there is like going into Moscow, right in the Red Square. It's so hard. It's loud. You're going to have to run the ball. You're going to have a lot of poise, and you're going to have to trust what you see from the Spagnuolo defense, you know. And to me, I could see this game being Bo Nix throws 3 interceptions and the Broncos get routed. But I also have such great confidence in Sean Payton that I could see this game being a run the football, kind of punt when we have to, keep this game close, try to get it to the fourth quarter, and do a one-score game. So, you know, to me, I think I lean towards the Broncos and taking the 7.5 as one of the teams here, especially they're one of the few home favorites that we have this weekend, as Thomas Gable pointed out.
When you see 28 first downs for the Chiefs in that win Monday night against the Buccaneers, Michael, like they're not known for their explosives anymore, right? We don't think of the Chiefs in that way. Is that by design, that like we'd rather churn it out and keep control of the ball?
Yeah, I think that's who they are. And I think and you could just see in their team building, this is who they are. Why did they trade for Hopkins? Most people in the media and fans think Hopkins is an explosive receiver. He's not. He's a converted receiver. He's a guy who's going to convert third downs. Right, he's going. It's like Keenan Allen. He's going to convert third downs. He's never going to make an explosive play unless he's dropped the coverage, right? But you need guys like them on your team because they're so reliable catching the football. And I think what the Chiefs figured out was, look, we're not going to be able to score 50 points. We're not going to be able to. We're going to have to control the game. And when we get Pacheco back to have a 1-2 punch with Hunt and Pacheco, with the way we play defense, that's a pretty good recipe to win. And we still have one of the best players in the league in Patrick Mahomes, who can make plays. If you don't keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket, he's going to make plays. Where Patrick Mahomes becomes so tough is when you let him out of the pocket moving to his right. You know, we saw him tiptoe down the sideline against the 49ers. We saw him make runs. I mean, he's just so talented in that area. And then he keeps his eyes down the field, and they displace the defense. And so, to me, I think this is really about the way they want to play. They want to control the ball for 34 minutes. They're playing anti-Andy Reid, which is typically I want to throw the ball to win. No, he's going to run the ball to keep his defense off the field and then be so good on third down to convert. This is why they're good. I mean, this is why Andy Reid is one of his best coaching jobs of the year, because this isn't really what he wants to do, but he understands how to keep winning is the way to do this.
Yeah, it's so well said. It's exactly right. It's may not be in his DNA, but what does it take to win? That's what Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are doing. The Chargers' DNA with Jim Harbaugh is defense, and I wonder if it's going to be a different game or more of the same this week, because it was really good defensively last week as they stifled the Browns in Cleveland. Now you get the Titans coming to L.A., and again, we'll figure out what's going to happen at the quarterback position here for Tennessee. But Will Levis against this defense, is it going to be a different game or more of the same?
Well, I think it's going to be if Will Levis plays, it's going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of a problem, right? Because look, you're going to have to make some plays in the passing game to go out there and beat them, right? I mean, it's very challenging. Even though they give up some yards on the ground, this is one of the best third down defenses in football. They're at 32.7% conversion on third downs. And what makes the Chargers so much of an interesting team, it's because they kind of play the way I think you have to play. They've won 5 games. And what do I say all the time? If you want to play great defense in the NFL, play less defense. Mm-hmm. You play less defense. They played 28-44 of defense this year per game. That's all they play, right? And so to me, that is so critical. That is so critical. And, they actually have played more defensive plays than their offense has. They played 480 plays of defense. They played 476 of offense. But yet the time of possession, why is that? Because they're so good on third down. They get you off the field. And I think, to me, Tennessee is going to, look, they'll struggle to block Tennessee. There's no question. Tennessee's defense is good. But I think, to me, knowing how to play Tennessee and they can get Justin Herbert going a little bit, I just think this is a tough out. And look, every time that you put Will Levis on the field, he's going to do something. No matter how much Brian Callahan coaches him trying out of making the mistakes, he still makes them.
You're looking at this Bears game against the Patriots at Soldier Field on Sunday, and it's one of the lower totals that you're going to see out there, 38.5. Maybe that's because the Bears' offense last week was so bad against the Cardinals in the desert. So will it be more of the same or a different game for the Bears' offense this week against the Patriots defense?
I think what's happened to a lot of us in the league is we get wowed by highlights, right?
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is not playing good. All right, well, let's just put that out there, right? He's not playing anywhere near as good as Jaden Daniels is. It's not close, okay? He hasn't made mistakes, but of the 35 quarterbacks with at least 150 plays this year, he's 26th in EPA. He's 27th in success rate. These are all analytical numbers. This isn't Michael Lombardi being critical based on the eye. And he has had a hard time all season of throwing the ball down the field. From behind the line to 10 yards, that's where Caleb has been his best. Now, where he's been so good and he kind of lures you into thinking he's playing better than he actually is when he gets out of the pocket and he makes some of those loose plays, right?
Yeah.
And so, to me, he's got to get better in that area. He's got to get better in those areas. And I think, to me, this game comes down to not Caleb Williams. I think this game comes down to the Bears defense. I think the Bears defense has to play better. I think they're capable of playing better. And I think the Bears offensive line. Look, the Caleb Williams can move, Dave. And he's been sacked 29 times, the third most of any quarterback in the league. Think about that. He's been sacked 20, and all we heard out of the Bears, out of Ryan Poles all year is how great this offensive line is. And all I kept saying is they stink in the offensive. They're horrible in the offensive line. He's built a 7-on-7 team, just like Zach Taylor's built in Cincinnati. But the problem is Zach Taylor's got Joe Burrow, who plays at a really high level. Right now, he's got Caleb Williams, who can't play at that level yet.
Yeah, and I think it's part of that frustration you've seen with DJ Moore, too, right? Like not getting the ball at the top of his routes, and you got to run all over the field. They're very frustrated with that offense, and I'm with you. If it doesn't look better this week, that'd be very interesting to see if there's any coaching changes that might come at Hallis Hall. Not calling for it, just saying it would be interesting if things go really south against the Patriots this week. Michael, of course, we always tell everybody, if you're taking this seriously and you want to be a better, you need to be a VSiN Pro subscriber. And there's no better time to do it than right now. You're going to get daily best bets. You're going to have a leaderboard showing you which VSiN expert has a current hot hand. 19 hours of live programming. You're going to get our exclusive betting splits, trends, and analysis to make you a better. So you can start your VSiN Pro subscription today for as little as $9.99. See everything VSiN has to help up your betting game. Sign up today, VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Let me try to sneak in one more before we go to break. And I wonder about the Jags and their defense. It was not good against Philadelphia last week. It hasn't been good a lot for this year. Now the Vikings coming to town. Maybe you have a backup quarterback for the Jags. You could be on the field even longer. More the same or a different game for the Jags defense this week against the Vikings offense?
Yeah, I think this is a tough spot for the Jags defense. I think it's more of the same. Look, I just don't think they're good enough in the secondary to really handle this, and I think Minnesota understands how to attack them. And I think this is going to be a really hard game. And I think Mac Jones, who has been prone to turn the ball over, becomes a real problem for them. I think Mac Jones becomes a real issue. And I would worry about this. That line at 7, I think it's going to touch over 7.5 before we get to Sunday.
You like Brian Flores in that matchup, right? Like that's going to be that's a win for the DC over what Jags have?
I really do. I mean, all Brian knows is if he can stop the run early in the game, Doug will call 50 passes and Mac Jones will throw him 3 picks.
Oof, get him right where you want him if you throw it that often against that purple gang there from Minnesota. All right, when we come back here, Michael, to begin hour number 2, we're going to have Tim Murray join us here to get his breakdown. Of course, we've got the college football playoff, the first release this week. So we'll do all of that to begin hour 2 next here on the Lombardi Line.
Sports bettors, this is your chance. VSiN is bringing you an unbeatable deal.